This is Kevin, and here's a quick overview of how I make my container gardens. You see, I'm using a Rubbermaid container there. This is a tomato plant. Here's another cherry tomato. Then I've got some nice lettuce growing in this one. It's a nice pink one here. Got some good tomatoes growing on this one. There's about 20 on this plant. Here's a cherry tomato that's just blossoming, and you can see the container that that's in, and that's the container that I'm going to kind of show you how to make. I've got peppers coming out of it. Those ones ripened up real nice. Then here is one of the original earth boxes, and if you don't want to make containers, the earth box really is the way to go. So everything that I'm doing is kind of using the ideas that the earth box has. Down below here I've got seedlings that I've planted to see what comes up. Some more lettuce down below here. And then here's the two containers that I'll be showing you how I made. And these both have kale growing in them. And if you want to look on the lid there, you can see I've cut out in the lid where each individual plant is going to be after I get it completely built up. And there I've got some seedlings that I got from Home Depot the other day there for some more kale. Okay, let's go show you how to do it. First of all, if you want to look at that, that's the label on the side so you can see which tub I'm working with. These work best, I think, these shallower ones, because they don't use very much of the potting mix. That's the potting mix that I use. I get this at Home Depot. It's called the Pro Mix. It's a little expensive, but it's already got all of the nice stuff in it. I don't have to mix any like dolomite or anything like that in with it. It's already a very light, very nice potting soil. So another reason not to use very much is because it does cost a bunch. So to make your pots so that you don't have too much soil or potting mix requirement. So the first thing that I'll show you again is this is the Rubbermaid tote. It's a roughneck tote that I got, and it's a 10-gallon tote. You can see there's a shoulder around the inside of it, and I want to use this shoulder to be the support for the false bottom that I'm gonna create for this. So the bottom half of this is going to be the water reservoir, and the top half of this is going to be the soil. Okay, so I'm going to go through this kind of quick, but the point is just to show you how I did it. You're going to have to figure out a lot of the details on your own, and you're going to have your own materials that you're going to do, because mostly this is made out of stuff that I've been able to find. So the first I've done is I've taken a piece of cardboard, and I used that to make a form for the point in the box where I want the bottom to sit. And then I was able to salvage some Lexan, and I just had several sheets of this, so I'm going to use this. This is fairly stiff. Some people say that you can take the lid and cut out the lid and use the surface of the lid to be the false bottom, but you really have to support it a lot because of the weight of the soil on top of it. I didn't find that worked very good. So if you can find some leftover stuff someplace, then that seems to work pretty good. So I started with this, then I used that as a template to draw the correct shape on a piece similar to this Lexan. And then when I cut it out, then I got this shape. And this fits in that bottom perfectly well. And now you can see I've drilled some other holes and stuff like that in it, and we'll get to that. So this fits right in here perfectly fine. The only thing is it only fits around the edges, and we're going to need a little bit more support than that. So I had a piece of this pipe that I think I got at Home Depot at one time, just drain pipe. And so I cut a piece of that to the exact height that I wanted in the box, place that in the bottom, in the center, and then that's going to be in the very center here, and that's going to support the weight of this after I put the soil into it. Now we're going to need something to wick the soil up from the surface, from the water reservoir up into the box itself, into the soil. So I got these pieces of drain tile, built those up. These will fit in these other holes. So you can see I had to measure these, cut out these spaces, cut out these places for these things. And what I also like to do is when I get these done is I'll take a zip tie and zip tie these in place so they'll fit and not want to scoot out or come out once I've got it made. So those go in here. In addition to that, it doesn't go quite this fast when you're actually building it, and then the other thing that you saw is I drilled air holes because the water level isn't going to come all the way up to the false bottom. The water level is going to come half, maybe even an inch from the bottom. And so in that air gap there, we want air to be able to circulate to aerate the soil. So I've drilled out the rest of this with that. So basically you're looking at something like this. You've got these reservoirs that go down into the water, and they're going to be the part that wicks the water up into the rest of the soil. You've got this to support the weight. We'll zip tie them in place, then they'll all be rigid. Then what we're going to do is when we put the lid on, one other thing. I got another piece of pipe. This is the watering pipe. So this goes from the top. It goes down into the reservoir. And again, I cut a little hole for that in the Lexan plastic. This is and this is another thing. Definitely want to zip tie this in, because if you got this full of dirt and then this accidentally comes out, you don't have an easy way to water that anymore. So zip tie that into place. We're going to cut a hole in the lid here so that this will go through it when you put that lid down. And now you've basically got the whole thing. We're going to fill this with that potting mix. We're going to put the lid on. We're going to cut holes where we want our plants to go. And then I'll take you back and you can have one more look now at what the finished product looks like with the kale growing out of it. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Let's go take a look one more time. Okay, there we are, taking a look at it one more time. So you can see all the things that I was telling you about. We've got the water tube in the back here, so that's where I water it every morning or every day or two to keep and the water level comes up to here. Works out just fine. Let me show you one other thing we do when we get all the way done. You can see I've drilled some holes in it right back here. And this line right here shows where that plastic is sitting, so that's the bottom of the soil. So we're going to go about an inch below that bottom of the soil, and we're going to drill a bunch of holes there. And these holes allow us to fill it with water at the top, but when it reaches this level, then the water comes out there and you know that it's got enough water. And remember, the water's coming up to the plants from the bottom. Now, you'd have to fertilize, you have to do some other things, but other people show you how to do that. But anyway, this is just about the construction of the containers, and that's how we do it.